Thank you, councillors. I would like to start by begin today by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land in which we are gathered and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to the 786th Council meeting of 26th of May 2021. I declare this meeting at 10 o'clock and I would like to advise meeting attendees this meeting is being webcast and audio recorded. Can the gallery please be upstanding if you're able and join me in a moment of contemplation. Sunday, it was a great privilege to attend Council's Leaf Festival last Sunday to learn how we can all live a little bit more sustainable. Council's Leaf Festival is time to coincide with World Environment Day celebrated on the 5th of June every year since 1974. The theme of this year's World Environment Day is ecosystem restoration. This is preventing future environmental damage and reversing damage that has already been done. Did you know that every 3 seconds the world loses enough forest to cover a football field? Unfortunately, we can't go back in time and change this, but government has a responsibility to invest in reversing environmental damage. I'm proud to say that this council is doing its part. Council's approach to protecting and enhancing the environment includes our award-winning biosolids gasification project at the Logan Home Treatment Plant, using solar power to transform waste into soil conditioner. It also includes securing high value environmental land for koala habitat, installing more than 1,000 kilowatts of solar panels on council buildings and planting enough trees to offset development, even a fast-growing city as ours. Council has planted 100,000 trees already this year. 30,000 of these funded through the environmental levy and 70,000 were funded by environmental offset charges by developers. We have increased our tree canopy by 5% in that same time. This is just a start, and I'm excited to say that Council is well on its way to achieving its vision of becoming carbon neutral. I'd like to share with you a call to action from the organisers of World Environment Day. This is our moment. We cannot turn back time. But we can grow trees, green our cities, rewild our gardens, change our diets and clean up rivers and coasts. We are the generation that can make peace with nature. Let's get active, not anxious. Let's be bold, not timid. Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, leave of absence. I note that we have received 2 absent requests. Councillor Bradley's absence is due to her being summoned to appear as a witness for the purpose of cross-examination at the committal hearing of Timothy Luke Smith. And we've also got Councillor Russell's absence is due to medical leave. Are there any further absences to consider? No, there's not. I note that the motion will be as follows. Councillor Bradley and Councillor Russell be granted a leave of absence in accordance with section 5.3C3 of the Local Government and Committee Meeting Code. Is there a mover for the motion? Councillor Murphy has moved the motion. Is there a seconder to the motion? Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Is there anyone wish to speak to the motion? No. I now open the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you. Okay. I now refer to condolences. Do any councillors have a condolence to raise? Please put your hand up if you have. No condolences? Okay, so please stand with us, if you're able to join me in a moment of reflection and honour of those who have gone before us and in support of those who have left behind. Thank you, councillors. I now open the floor for congratulation requests. Do any councillors have a congratulations? I'll start with Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. And on the weekend, one of our local residents, Trixie Benbrook, was issued with a Certificate of Appreciation from Logan City Council at the Leaf Awards. 35 years ago, Trixie bought her house in Kingston, and her one requirement was it be big enough to house her family a bit tightly, but it must have trees in the yard. Trixie got her wish and went on to become one of the greatest local carers when it comes to bird wildlife and bird rescue. She takes in birds of all types, she rehabilitates them, and she releases them into the local area in which they were found. Trixie is a dedicated member of our community, and I would ask that you pass your congratulations along to her. The second one that I have is, after 35 years, Gary Malloy has retired as principal of Woodridge State School. Mr Malloy was an amazing education innovator. He worked with the local community, particularly the emerging Korg community as refugees came in, created support a writer, support an English speaker, support a mathematician. He worked with his team at Woodridge State School and made a big difference in so many young children's lives. Those children have gone on to become lawyers, doctors and engineers. Some of them have gone on to become parents, but they all give back to their community and they all have big regard for Mr Malloy. Last Friday we attended a Harmony Day, belated Harmony Day ceremony at Woodridge State School, and there were a lot of people who had a lot of good things to say about Mr Malloy, who was quietly issued with an Order of Australia medal this year that we weren't aware of. So congratulations to Mr Malloy, and I hope your retirement with your grandchildren is beautiful.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. We'll pass those on. Councillor Karansky, Councillor Raven, Councillor Hall, up you get.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I've got two thanks and congratulations I'd like to extend. First to the Logan City Council events team and natural environment team, as well as everyone who attended and helped put together the Logan Eco Action Festival last Sunday that you mentioned. I'd also like to thank Dirt Girl, Scrap Boy and Costa. These people have a very busy portfolio, but they made time out of their day to visit Logan and visit the kids of Logan and brought much joy. I'd also like to thank, on the weekend, while the Logan Eco Action Festival was going on, there was also another event that was happening, which I had to leave the Eco Festival for, which was the Special Olympics Australia event, their big golf day. I'd like to extend a special thank to them. Now, the Special Olympics Australia Logan are a not-for-profit organisation that provides weekly sports events and training and regular competitions for people with intellectual disabilities. Through sport, their athletes are able to learn new skills, enjoy friendship and build confidence in themselves. And I think it's a great thing that happened and I was happy to attend there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser, Councillor Hirameyer, Councillor Bannon, Councillor Stamp.
Yes, Mr Mayor, I have a couple. Thank you. I'd like to ask congratulations be passed on to an incredible young lady by the name of Katie Young, who on Sunday was awarded the Australian Scouts Medallion at a lovely ceremony at Shayla Park Scouts Den. It was wonderful hearing from Katie's family, Scout leaders and peers about her journey over the last 7 years, from cub to earning the highest award in the Scout section. I'd like to commend her on her dedication and commitment to the community and her Scout group and wish her all the best for her next adventure. I also have a second one. I'd like to ask congratulations be passed on to Shayla Park Meals on Wheels, who are celebrating their 25th year anniversary of providing delicious meals, a smile and friendly conversation to our local community. Mayor Power and I celebrated with the volunteers yesterday over a wonderful morning tea, saw photos and news articles from the last 25 years and heard heartwarming stories, many of which included dedicated volunteers and residents they have sadly lost along the way. I'd like to take this opportunity to show my gratitude and thank both current and past Shayla Park Meals on Wheels volunteers for their incredible commitment and service to our community over so many years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Stamp. The Shayla Park Meals Wheel people are a wonderful organisation. I've been involved with them for 24 of their 25 years. I've actually done some runs with them, and what a wonderful organisation. It was great to be there and share that time, but I feel like I'm handing the baton over to you, Councillor Stamp. Well done. Councillor Wilcox, glad you could make it.
Thank you.
Up you get.
I recently had the pleasure of meeting Raf, who's a Greenbank resident, probably I think the day after this happened, and his wife had a baby. So congratulations to both of them, Raf and Michelle, who had baby Ava on May 12th. I think he rushed home from the hospital to come and meet me for a meeting that I had with a bunch of residents. So please pass my congratulations on to Raf, Michelle, at the birth of their baby daughter and the newest addition to the family and to Division 11. I also want to thank and congratulate the team that brought the Leaf Festival to us on Sunday. It was fantastic. I'd never been to one before, and it was so great to see so many people from across the city attend, and it was great to see so many Division 11 residents represented well, receiving awards and nominations on the day. So congratulations to the whole team. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy? None? Okay. Councillors, I now refer to the minutes of the previous ordinary council meeting. I move that the minutes of the 785th ordinary council meeting held on the 28th of April 2021 be confirmed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Hall? No?
Sorry, Mr Mayor, I found a mistake in the minutes. On item 4.1, it actually says that on page 15 of 86, it says that Councillor Bradley voted against. Councillor Bradley was actually absent on that day.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Any other changes? Any other errors, omissions? No? Okay, so I've moved. Can I have a seconder for the amended minutes? Thank you. Councillor Hall has seconded. I now put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Business arising from the minutes. We have no business arising from the minutes to consider, so we'll go straight into committee recommendations. I now refer to the City Planning, Economic Development, Environment Committee meeting held on the 18th of May 2021. Councillor Raven, Chairperson of the City Planning, Economic Development, Environment Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussions, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest they'd like to declare? There being none, with your indulgence, I'll speak to the reports. This last week, Mr Mayor, we heard from Invest Logan. They came to give their quarterly report to us, and in the weeks since, I've attended 2 different opening events for the great projects they're delivering. For those who aren't aware of the history of Invest Logan, we rebooted this organisation last term. And it took some courage by the councillors at the time to make a commitment to ask a separate organisation from council to make investment decisions on our behalf. And the truth is that councillors and council staff aren't necessarily the best place to make those decisions with the expertise that we don't have and the restrictions on the way local governments are allowed to use their money and how slow we can be in making decisions. Which is all very important for the good functioning of government, but not great for the good functioning of investment. So this week, Mr Mayor, as you're well aware, the York had its topping out ceremony. It was the first time I've been to a topping out ceremony. That's where you put the last piece of concrete on top of the building and you've got to make sure you put a tree on top so as not to anger the Nordic gods that might be offended that you built something taller than a tree they could grow. It was fantastic to see the kids from Beenleigh State High come out and provide the catering for the event. I was there with Councillor Murphy to celebrate the fantastic views from on top of that building, the controversial art that's on the side, on the mural on the side of it. But what this is doing is creating interest in our city because people are seeing an investment like this, which is about $40 million of economic activity happening in our city. That's drawing attention from investors both overseas and interstate to say, hey, what's going on in Logan and how do we become part of that? The other one's slightly smaller and it's in my electorate, so it's obviously my favourite. Down on Wayne Goss Drive, we had some underutilised land that had been left over from a road reserve for nearly a decade. Invest Logan have taken that and they've built some combined warehouses and office space. And what's fantastic is not the quality of the work, which it looks great down there, but it's actually the businesses that have moved in. So there are 2 businesses that started last year during COVID. They were home-based businesses, both based in Crestmead, and they've taken that first step into having their own office space and warehouse space. I'm going to give them a quick shout out, Short Stack Printing, and who I'm going to encourage to apply for some of Council's printing work because from what I've seen, they're very, very good. And Envious Customs, who do scented candles, body wraps, Bath bombs for you, Mr Mayor. I know you're a big fan of those. And if you want to go down there and check both the organisations out. Oh, you didn't know about this?
I'm wondering how you know.
Oh, a gentleman never tells his secrets. Yeah, but they're both fantastic local businesses getting an opportunity to move into a new facility right next to Berrinbar Wetlands, near the new development that's happening there with the tavern and other bits and pieces that are coming down right next to the Crestmead Industrial Estate, which is exactly the sort of opportunities we want for our small businesses, and perfect timing given it's Small Business Month, Mr Mayor. I have nothing further to comment on the reports, and I return the floor to you to ask if other councillors wish to speak.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Any other speakers? Councillor Murphy.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to talk to the item 4.2, the Urban Arts Strategy Report, and I would like to just confirm to the audience and our audience out in the community that since those discussions that I have been talking with the Economic Development and Strategy team and amended the report to protect the mural known as the Tree of Life in the Beenleigh Town Square. This has come with some media coverage over the last couple of days, both radio and newsprint. And I have spoken to the local artist Don Waters with regards to this because he had a radio interview, and to the members of the community that were concerned about that piece of art being protected. Since then, the manager and the officers have addressed my concerns and the community's concerns and changed the report. So thank you to those officers, and I look forward to protecting that piece of art. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. And I might just add on to that. When that topic did come up, I did discuss public art, and I did say that I supported it, but I did warn councillors to be very careful about it, because I've seen the political ramifications of not so much wise choices being made, controversial choices, and of course, obviously, the political turmoil that's been created by that. But I'm not against public art. I was just warning new councillors just to be careful. I just want to put that on a record, because it appears in the media that I'm against public art. That's not the case. Okay, continue on. Councillor Raven, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I know you're a big supporter of art, and if art isn't controversial and doesn't get people talking, then it's probably not art in the first place, is it? Mr Mayor, without any further ado, I'd like to move that the recommendations of the City Planning, Economic Development and Environment Committee meeting held on the 18th of May 2021 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Raven. Councillor Raven has moved the motion. Do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. I therefore put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you. Yes, Councillor Wilcox.
I'd just like it noted that I abstained from 4.3.
Okay.
Thank you.
That's been noted. Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Now refer to the City Infrastructure Committee held on the 18th of May 2021. Councillor Lane, Chairperson, City Infrastructure Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I note that a declarable conflict of interest was declared by Councillor Bannon on item 6.2. He voluntarily left the meeting. Therefore, I'll be separating item 6.2 from the bulk of our discussion today. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts to declare? There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. Mr Mayor, one of the items that came up in the Infrastructure Committee was the BSUP program, which is the bus stop improvement program. And essentially what it does was it listed a number of bus stops in local communities and local divisions throughout Logan. The officers kindly actually asked councillors whether or not they would want to contribute to that recommendation of the report to go forward. And a number of councillors took up the opportunity to raise bus stops in their area that they thought were quite busy, and that did need some attention. And I thank those councillors for their input. As a result of that, we have more than 260 bus stop recommendations in the report, which is a great example of councillors and officers working together. Now, not all of those will get bus stops, not all of them will get improvements, but certainly if residents are at home and they're listening to this process and they see a bus stop that is either not disability compliant in terms of access up to the slab that's there, please get in touch with your local councillor and we can try and get that adjusted. But for the most part, the committee was very informative, and yeah, we had a good time with it. So I'll pass it back to you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Does any other councillors wish to speak to any of the items except for 6.2? No? I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Lane.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the recommendations of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on 18 May 2021 with the exception of 6.2 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. So Councillor Lane has moved all motions except for 6.2. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Wilcox has seconded. Do anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. Okay, I'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Lane, for 6.2.
Thanks very much, Mr Mayor. I'll now refer to item 6.2. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have a conflict of interest to declare? Councillor Bannon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, Councillor Bannon, declare a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item 6.2 of the City Infrastructure Committee on 18th of the 5th, 2021. The particulars of my declaration are as follows. The declarable conflict of interest arise because of interest where a reasonable person might think as a councillor I could be biased. The details of which are as follows. The name of the person is Bruce Hankinson. The nature of my relationship with Bruce is that we've been close personal friends for 40 plus years. The nature of the other person's interest into the matter is he's a consultant to the company within the report. And why a reasonable person might think that I have a bias is because I've been friends for 40 plus years. So I voluntarily exclude myself from the meeting until further notice.
So moving expeditiously, Councillor Bannon has left the room. Mr Mayor, item 6.2 is Featherstone Road Chambers Flat approval to utilise the services of a sole provider in a pavement rehabilitation project. Councillor Bannon declared a conflict of interest because he's got mates in the community. He stood up, he did the right thing, he made his declaration and he's left the meeting. He didn't put it to the test to see whether or not we thought it was a reasonable conflict. He chose to leave that meeting. This is about a local company bidding and getting accepted for a local service. And I think that being as forthright as Councillor Bannon has been throughout this process is a very good thing. This council actually has a great record of declaring conflicts of interest, and some of them are just so minute it's not funny. So I'd just like to put it out there that Councillor Bannon has absolutely done the right thing in this instance. We heard that this new product has capacity to actually save us money in the long term. It's a test project, and you know, it has its pros and its cons. We did pass item 6.2, and I'm happy to hear from any other councillors if they wish to speak on 6.2.
Thank you, Councillor Lane, and you're correct. Councillor Bannon is doing his job. Councillors, anyone else wish to speak to 6.2? No being so, I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Lane.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I feel like a jack in the box today. I now move that the recommendation for item 6.2 of the City Infrastructure Committee meeting held on 18 May 2021 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Lane. Councillor Lane has moved the motion. There is seconded to the motion. Councillor Stemp has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I therefore put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Thank you. Could someone now ask Councillor Bannon to be invited back into the room, please? Okay, thank you. I now refer to the City Lifestyle Committee meeting held on the 19th of May 2021. Councillor Karansky, Chairperson of the City Lifestyle Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Before we move into discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest they wish to declare? There being none, I'll now speak to the recommendations. At the City Lifestyle Committee last week, councillors were presented with an update and background information on planned improvements at the Logan Respite Centre as part of the local infrastructure program. This report resulted in a positive outcome that will benefit the needs of the community, and I'd like to congratulate Councillor Russell, Councillor Lane and Councillor Raven on working collaboratively to deliver a great outcome for the community. Our councillor cohort also discussed the Logan Metro Sports Park Management Project, which has received considerable interest from community groups. Councillors resolved to undertake an expression of interest for Sports Parks Precinct and will offer exciting opportunities for the whole community. I commend Councillor Russell and Councillor Hall for their leadership of the councillor project reference groups, And I'd also like to acknowledge Councillors Bannon, Lane and Raven for contributing to the group, and council officers. They all had a very important role to play, and I look forward to the next chapter in this exciting precinct coming back to life. And finally, there were 2 confidential reports involving a proposal from Basketball Queensland pertaining to the operations of Logan Metro Sports and Events Centre and the Nerida Street Community Centre and Pensioner Units. I'd just like to acknowledge all councillors, including you, Mr Mayor, for your diligence and commitment to working together to resolve these complex matters. And we took into account together multiple viewpoints, and we had a very rigorous debate around these issues. And I just would like to say how incredibly proud I am to be part of a council that really weighs all of these decisions so seriously. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Any other councillors wish to speak? None being so, I'll hand it back to you, Councillor Karansky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I now move that the recommendations of the City Lifestyle meeting held on the 19th of May be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Karansky. Councillor Karansky has moved the motion. I'm looking for a seconder. Councillor Hall has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. I'll now go to the City Governance. I refer to the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 19th of May 2021. Councillor Wilcox, Chairperson of City Governance Committee, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. But before we move into the discussion, do any councillors have any new conflicts of interest to declare on any items? No? I will now open the floor for discussion to councillors. I have nothing further to add. It was a very seamless meeting, this last meeting for me, so I have nothing further to add.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Any other councillors wish to speak? No other councillors. Councillor Wilcox, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. I will now move that the recommendations of the City Governance Committee meeting held on the 19th of May 2021 be adopted.
Thank you, Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Wilcox has moved the motion. Can I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Murphy has seconded the motion. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one wishes to speak to the motion. I now put the matter to the floor to vote. All those in favour, please raise your hands. That has been carried unanimously. Therefore, the motion has been carried. Thank you very much. So that finishes our committee meetings. So now go to council reports. We have no council reports to consider. We have no late reports to consider. However, we've come to the petitions, and I do believe we've got a number of petitions. Councillor Murphy, you've got a petition.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to put forward the petition that I have here. That the petition in relation to opposing the M2 Coomera connected northern end of the motorway be protecting the Logan's wetlands as attached to the minutes of the ordinary meeting on the 26th of May 2021 be received and referred to the Director of Road and Water Infrastructure for further investigation and preparation of a report to a further City Infrastructure Committee meeting if required. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murphy. Now, I do believe we've got the motion up on the screen, but I also note that Councillor Murphy is already working on a master plan at Oliver's precincts, and which is, as you know, is the Eagleby Wetlands, and you're also working with the Wetlands Group and other stakeholders.
That's correct.
Okay, so we've got that up on the board. Can we have a mover for that motion? Councillor Murphy has moved the motion. The seconder, Councillor Hall. Anyone wish to speak to the motion? No one? Okay, councillors, I'll put the matter to the vote. All those in favour, please raise your hand. That has been carried unanimously, therefore the motion has been carried. Now, was there any other... Councillor Lane, you told me you had a... No business, Mr Mayor. Okay, all right, so there's no other petitions. So, councillors, we'll now go to the general business part of our... consideration of notified motions. We have no notified motions to consider, so we'll now go to general business. Who did we end up with last time? We don't remember. All right. Councillor Lane, general business.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. And I have a petition, but my petition isn't to be presented to council. The Commonwealth Bank has decided to close its doors at Logan Central Plaza. Shame. And it was a very sneaky move by the CEO of CommBank and their cohort. This is not a reflection of the staff. It is a reflection of their decision to rip services out of our local community. And I was completely outraged. I was furious when I saw old and infirm people walking out of that bank so upset that their local bank was going to close. These people aren't on the internet. They do not know how to do internet banking. It's not as easy as just move banks. They've got to go through Centrelink, they've got to change their mortgages and their loans, and it was completely outrageous. So I started a petition, and that petition in under a week has gotten over 400 signatures. Now, the people who use CommBank internet banking obviously don't sign the petition because they're not particularly worried about it. But the fact that we have 400 signatures in just over a week from people who don't use internet banking is a show of force that the community is upset that CommBank is removing their services from our local area. It's not enough that they go to Browns Plains or they go to Logan Home to use the CommBank there. If they do that, they end up shopping there. And that means services and jobs in Division 2 will actually be lost as a result of this decision. I'm writing to the CEO, I'm presenting him with this petition. I don't know that it's actually going to make a difference, but shame on you, CommBank. Shame on you.
Thank you, Councillor Lane, and I agree with you. This is history repeating itself. I think as much as 20 years ago, the same thing was happening, and the banks are reducing, and there are vulnerable people out there that need their banks, particularly the aged and the people with disabilities who can't drive around, people who don't have the finances to have a computer system. They're the ones that will be most at risk, and all I can say is it's a disgraceful effort by the Commonwealth Bank, and if I was those, I would be going to another bank. Councillor Kerensky.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Mr Mayor, as you know, having been a supporter of the Cancer Council for a number of years, 1 in 2 Queenslanders will ultimately face a cancer diagnosis in their lifetime. And the Jimboomba Relay for Life has been an incredible fundraising resource for the Cancer Council for a number of years. This year, the Jimboomba Relay for Life has decided to hang up their boots. And Councillor Bannon and I had a good chat in the background about how we could assist Cancer Council Queensland in ensuring that the legacy that this community has of support for Relay for Life isn't lost. So I'm very, very proud to say that there is a new Relay for Life that will be run in October this year in Yarrabilba. It's the Yarrabilba Relay for Life. And last night I met with their executive committee who are in the process of reaching out to all our friends who've supported the Jimboomba Relay for Life over a number of years and inviting them along to be part of the new Yarrabilba Relay for Life. The event will be conducted in October of this year, and we're hoping it will be an incredible success. And they've set themselves a lofty fundraising goal of $30,000 for this year. So anyone can be involved from right across the city. We know we've got the City of Logan Relay for Life in Councillor Murphy's division coming up in September, and this event will be in October. So anyone who wants to be involved is more than welcome. We're rolling out the red carpet to them. And thank you, Councillor Bannon, for your tremendous support in enabling this to happen. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Councillor Kerensky. Councillor Raven.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and I thoroughly support the fundraising efforts of Relay for Life. Is it going to be fancy dress themed, Councillor Kerensky?
You never know, you're like in the big city, Councillor Raven.
And then my next question is for the Acting CEO. Do you think you'll be attending in fancy dress, Mr Acting CEO?
It'll depend if I'm still the acting CEO.
Excellent answer, very diplomatic. What about you, Mr Mayor? Were you and the Acting CEO be dressing up together? Two brothers this time?
Keep going, Councillor. Councillor Hall. Councillor Fraser. Councillor Hiremaier. Councillor Bannon.
I do thank you, Mr Mayor. It's a short one, but a very important one. Well, I believe it is. Not a congratulations, just a thank you to our Madam Director of Community Services, Katie Barton-Harvey. The fact that she, as a director, she came out to my division recently, had a cup of coffee, walked through the area. It just meant a lot, the fact that she come out to where I am to see what I want to do, to see my goals, to see what I want to change. It was it might seem like a small thing, but it was a huge thing for me, the fact that she took the time to come out and spend some time with me in my backyard. So just a massive thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Councillor Bannon. Councillor Stemp. Councillor Wilcox. Councillor Murphy. I finished quite early. Okay, that concludes our agenda for today's meeting. I now declare the meeting of the Ordinary Council meeting closed at 10:35. Thank you, councillors.